Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Worcester Township Board of Supervisors business meeting for November 16th, 2022. Would you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excuse me. Thank you all.
I'm going to forego with the introductions. I think everybody here knows everybody here, and if not, I don't know what to tell you. But we're just gonna move right along because Lou, I guess he's got a chicken in a pot, and he's got to get home for dinner. We're not sure. Either way, so first and foremost, welcome everybody. Informational items. Sean, I think we have an announcement to make tonight.
Just that this meeting is being recorded for future broadcast.
Then Bob, you've got a...
Yeah, there was an executive session held on November the 8th to discuss personnel and real estate matters, and no decisions were made.
Thank you, Bob. Does anybody else have any other informational items for the board? Okay. So moving forward, first item is public comment. We do ask that you limit... Deb? Okay.
I appreciate you using microphones because the last meeting that was recorded was so bad I turned on closed captioning and even the closed captioning couldn't pick it up. So microphones are great. And then thirdly, I went to make a donation for open space today and looked on the website and there was nowhere where it said who to write a check to or where to send it. So there was an email, but it got kicked back. And so I had to call. So if something could be put on the website, make it a little easier for people to find it.
I think we can handle that. Thank you, Deb. Appreciate it. Does anybody else have any... Sue? Good evening.
Things to talk about tonight. First and most importantly, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome our new township manager, Sean Hello. In your new role. We'll probably speak for many residents when I say we are looking forward to working together with you to preserve our beautiful township. I'm hopeful that you will welcome our offer to help and will hear our voices with an open mind and heart. Lately, on another point, completely different. Lately, I've been
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. As always, we appreciate your comments. Does anybody else have any public comment? Bert?
Morning, Bert.
Last week, we had an election, and one of the things that was missing on the options for the election was clearly the open space referendum question. And I understand why, and I'm not here to beat a dead horse, but I am here to look to the future. There's always next year, and even in the more distant future, there's the following year. Part of my job as president of Friends of Worcester is to educate the public. So I thought tonight I'd share with you two local areas, somewhat local in Pennsylvania, that had referendums on their ballot this past fall. And they stood out to me for several reasons. The one was Carbon County. And it stood out because it was an entire county that took a vote on an open space referendum. And they didn't call it open space, but that's what it was. They called it water preservation, working farm preservation, wildlife habitat preservation. And they asked the people if they were supportive of having tax dollars go to support that. And astoundingly, 82% of the voters said yes. That really hit home for me. 82% in any election is just a resounding number of people in support of open space concepts and open space preservation. The other one, a little more closer to home, is down in Chester County, Westtown Township. Many of you have heard, and I think I've mentioned it here before, Billy Farms. Billy Farms is a roughly 300-acre tract that was once the Brandywine battlefield in the Revolutionary War. They've been trying for years to preserve it. And they finally put it on the ballot. And it was cleverly done there in that the voters were asked to support, if they were in support of the question, they would be asked to approve a tax that would involve both an earned income tax increase and a property tax increase. They created a hybrid, so they didn't look to just one way or the other of funding it. 68% of their voters affirmed that and voted so that the township is now going to be able to acquire 200 acres of the 300 acres, and the land trust is going to get the other through easement. But anyway, the land's going to be preserved. These areas gave the folks the opportunity to vote, asked, and they didn't pass by just a 51 or 52%. When I looked at Chester County, and when I looked at Carbon County, and I saw 68%, 82%, there are a lot of people who are in favor of preserving the resources. And my message to you tonight is, let's keep the conversation going here. It didn't happen here this year, but there's always next year. There's the following year. But we do have to get on this from my perspective, because if we don't, it's going to be too late. I've commended you in the past for your acquisition, when you had the opportunity, acquiring Fisher Road property. I'm thrilled to hear that. There will be other Fisher Road type properties that will come on the market. I don't know when, and probably you don't know when. But when it happens, we need to have the opportunity, and we need to have the resources, we need to be able to be confident that we can acquire those properties. The Billy Farm, they're talking $21 million for 200 acres. I mean, that's a lot of money. That's more than we have, that's for sure. always be naysayers. 82% of the people in Carbon County needs 18% said nay. You're going to have a certain percentage here that will say no. We just need to give the voters the opportunity down the road at some point. So thank you for listening. Thank you for considering.
Sure. So, did you follow the Limerick one by any chance?
I did follow the Limerick one.
Which did not. I was surprised, truthfully, but
With all the development that is occurring in that section of the county, I would have thought they would have worked to preserve it.
yeah.
Just not enough. And yet, you know what? The will of the people to speak there, as it would here or anywhere else. And I think it's important that we allow the people to speak. Just because Limerick voted that way this year doesn't mean that down the road they won't come back and rethink their decision.
Sure.
But I wasn't smart.
Right. Because it was also an earned income tax, which is, if you'll recall from some of the discussions we had, that they also had a higher percentage of acceptances over the last 20 years. Earned income tax had typically, I won't say floated through, but typically that particular mechanism had worked pretty well. So I was just curious. I kept an eye on a few of them, and that was one of the ones closer to home, but not. What was the percentage? I don't know, it was less than 50. I mean, at the end of the day, they didn't get to 50 plus one. I don't remember the exact percentages there. I know I did see the one down in Chester County, which is, wasn't hugely surprising, but again, it's I'm always curious. So,
Bert, Rick took my thunder because I know you mentioned the place in Carbon County and the one there, and I'm glad you're aware of the one in Limerick, but you didn't mention that. So, it's, playing poker here a little bit, and on purpose based as much as anybody else is. But once again, I'm encouraging people to donate. She said that something wasn't on the address. It was there before. I'm not sure what happened, but
we'll get it correct.
we have a fun goal there we're trying to set. So we have to show the people in the township that people want to contribute. And it's nice to talk about it, but once again, we're asking people to contribute to the fund. Thank you. Yep.
Sure.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Bert. Appreciate it. Kim, do you want to make it a full house of 100% participation tonight? All right, we'll move forward then. All right, moving along. So first up, we have our consent agenda under official action items. So, Bob, I've got a question for you. In terms of, we approved minutes last month that we shouldn't have because Steve wasn't here. Lou wasn't here when we had the meeting, but Lou and I last month voted to approve them. So we've added them back onto the agenda. I just need to make sure who makes the motion. Like, do we need to split those out, or can we sort of put them all under the consent agenda? And
You could keep them under the consent agenda.
okay. Gotcha. So first, does anybody want to take anything out of the consent agenda? Okay, perfect. Then I will entertain a motion then for the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the treasurer report, bill payment of October 22, September 21 and 22 work session minutes, September 21, 22 business meeting minutes, and then October 19, 22 business meeting.
And let me just add that the bills for September of 2022 are in the amount of $280,336.29.
And I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any public comment regarding the motion that's on the floor? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Next up, we have a motion that's going to be to authorize a change order for Mount Kirk Park, in the amount of $3,200 payable to O'Malley Electric LLC. Joe, you got some info for this one?
Yes, this was to add a second handhold, which is basically a junction box at the entrance to where the electrical service enters the building. The wiring, due to the length of the wire run and the voltage needed, the wire was very thick. And in order to bend it properly, we really needed an additional handhole, so that's what this is for.
Gotcha. Was that budgeted for in the original project, or is just an addition?
This is in addition to that. If you recall, this is the project where the electrical contractor, his price was like half of everybody else.
Right.
So if you're saying if it's budgeted, was it in the original estimate? Yes, but this is an addition, a change order is an additional amount to the awarded contract price.
Right, it's a modest amount. If I recall, it was, as you said, it was nearly half of what the
Yes.
next bid, if I remember correctly.
And this project, this is a grant project as well.
Gotcha. Does anybody have any questions for Joe or any questions regarding this item?
No, sir.
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any public comment regarding the motion on the floor? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Okay, next up, we have another change order, which is going to be for the Valley Green Treatment Plant in the amount of $7,195 payable to Dutchman, Inc. What do we got here, Joe?
This is related to the contract that is just about to start at the Valley Green Treatment Plant to install a new disc filter system to replace the existing sand filters, which are both shot. They're both, due to their age, they're deteriorated and leaking. We're going to remove the filters and install a new clarifier capacity in the concrete tanks that the filters were in. During the pre-construction meeting, the operators of the treatment plant had some suggestions that would improve the operation of the clarifiers so that the effluent coming out of the treatment plant is of a slightly higher quality. And that was some skim baffles and a new skimmer and adjustable scum baffles. And what this does is it sort of skims the surface a little bit better. And really, it's to improve the effluent quality going out of the treatment plant.
And this is part of the, if I remember correctly, the larger, we tried a grant a couple of different times and then ultimately decided to use the ARPA funds for
Yes.
a series of,
Yeah, all of the costs associated with this project are through by the ARPA funds.
gotcha,
And the total amount of this contract is like $650,000.
right. Okay. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to authorize a change order for Valley Green Treatment Plant in the amount of $7,195 payable to Dutchman.
And I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any public comment regarding the motion on the floor? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Rick, as we're talking about the, over there at the Valley Green Treatment Plant, Joe, has there been any problems there? We had the noise problem, supposed noise problems. Most of that's been cleared up?
As far as I know, but I know Sean received an email from the woman who had the most complaints, I guess, about the noise. But she wanted us to look at some other type of device. But included in the project that we're doing is noise enclosures for the blowers. We're spending a significant amount of money to change the blower motors on the building where the problem was. We're putting in variable frequency drives so we can turn down the speed of the motors. The operators indicated that the motors were at one speed, which is high. Right. And the operator said that it was too much air into the system, that we could do it probably half. So what we're doing is putting in VFDs to turn down the motor speed, which will, number one, save electric cost, and number two, reduce vibrations at the facility. The third thing we're doing is replacing and relocating all of the filters and silencers on the blower exhaust. When it was inspected by the blower people, they indicated that where the filters and silencers are currently placed are not real effective, so we're putting them in the proper location. That's part of this project as well. So we're really doing three things to assist in the noise issue at the plant.
Thanks for the clarification. This is something that's been going on for a couple of years. Mr. Ryan addressed the situation, saying, hey, we had to go out in contract, we're looking at it, and these are the necessary changes that the Dutchman has felt that will hopefully alleviate any problems there.
Yes. You also do remember that we did have a professional noise study done at the
Right.
site as well.
Right.
So,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
I know we tried to grant money twice and didn't get it, and I'm glad we were able to get the money and take care of it.
It's a good source for this type of project.
Perfect. Okay, so next up, we have the 2023 budget, and this is round 3, ultimately, and then we'll have a decision to make in terms of putting it on our December agenda.
Okay, for taxes, the budget includes no new taxes and no increases to any existing taxes. For the general fund, first and foremost, this is balanced. The budget assumes real estate transfer taxes will decline slightly in the coming year. The budget includes $250,000 in real estate transfer taxes in the coming year, and $840,000 is projected for this year. This number is budgeted significantly lower in 2023 due to the reserve at Center Square being projected to be nearly completed by the end of this year. As to expenditures, health insurance premiums will not increase in 2023, and this is made possible by the use of our rate stabilization funds earned by the township's positive claims experience with the multi-municipal nonprofit trust for health insurance, to which we are a member. The budget also includes a 5% increase to our annual operating contribution to our volunteer fire department to $175,000 and retains a capital contribution in the amount of $100,000. For the capital fund, we will undertake some sizable capital projects in the coming year. At the top of the list is the annual road program. The capital fund will also fund a sizable culvert replacement on Weber Road. And lastly, the capital fund will provide for the replacement of public works vehicles and equipment that have reached the end of their useful life, including the replacement of a 2012 pickup truck, a 2012 brush stripper, and a 2000 dump truck. For the sewer fund, the budget includes a 0.5% increase to residential rates in 2023, which translate to approximately 2 cents per month increase for each home on the township system. A 0.5% increase to commercial sewer rates is also proposed. For the state liquid fuels fund, the estimated 2023 allocation was received earlier this month, a total of $355,938, and it's approximately 5% higher than that received this year. For other municipalities, the annual liquid fuels allocation is the annual road maintenance budget. Our community does not adopt this approach. Worcester does not assume that the annual liquid fuels allocation is adequate to meet our real road maintenance needs. We budgeted an additional dollars in both the general fund and the capital fund to meet this obligation. We will therefore offset any decrease in liquid fuels funding with additional dollars through the capital fund. For next steps, this evening, the board will consider authorization to advertise the 2023 budget for the required 20-day public inspection period. The budget will be available at the Township Building, and the budget will be posted to our website. The board will then consider the 2023 budget for adoption at its December 21st business meeting. And that's it.
Thank you, Nicole. Does anybody have any specific budget-related questions for Nicole? Now, this is the third sort of read-through, but if there are any items, this would be the time for us to review them.
If you want to move ahead, you need to make a motion to authorize
Yep.
advertisement of the budget. I don't know if you have a motion ready for that, but that would be the motion.
Sorry, you don't, I omitted that from the pro forma here. But we would need a motion to authorize advertisement of the 2023 budget.
As presented.
And I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any public comment regarding the motion that's on the floor? Sure.
Is there a copy of the draft of the budget? I didn't see anything on the page. Or do I have to wait until you?
I thought, did I print a book? I thought I printed a copy to bring with me, but I don't see it in.
It will be posted to the, it's going to be posted to the website.
So ultimately, we're authorizing to post it. We'll get it, everything will be up there, and then next month's meeting is when we would actually adopt or not. So if there were questions or concerns or issues, you'd be able to raise them before we adopt it.
Okay, when would that be on the website?
Before the end of this week,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
Does anybody have any additional questions regarding the motion that's on the floor? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. So next up, we've got other business. I actually have one topic I want to bring up, and it's more just informational, I guess. But so it's actually about social media. There's been an interesting thing, if anybody has been following the recent acquisition and sort of privatization of Twitter. What started happening fairly recently is fake accounts have been getting very aggressive in terms of that. And what I hadn't really thought of is municipalities, where we oftentimes will use social media as a medium to say, hey, there's a blue warning, or red, when you have cold weather or hot weather or different things. I don't know, I guess I want to make sure that we're sort of on top of our accounts. Ultimately, I know we have a Twitter account. We have, we certainly do a lot of, we don't use Twitter. Okay. Facebook, okay. But either way, just that we're monitoring, that's actually a good point. If we don't have a Twitter account, we might want to that might be a tweet of the week, if you will, to say we don't have. But ultimately, what has started to happen, which is really dangerous, is that people are pretending to be organizations that they're not, and then they're saying, so Eli Lilly, somebody took theirs earlier this week and said that pharmaceuticals and insulin were all going to be free, and put that out there. And very quickly, people jumped on that and started reposting and retweeting that pharmaceuticals were going to be free. But if you think in terms of municipalities, where we try to let people know health, safety, and welfare items, and particularly through the winter with snow and those sorts of things, it got me thinking that we should just make sure we're on top of those accounts and that we're sort of communicating with the residents sort of what our mechanism is before we use it. Like, so before there's a snowstorm, saying, hey, here's how we're going to share this information, that in the peak of the week, that might be a source to do that ultimately. So that's all I have. Does anybody else have any other business for the board? Okay. And next up, we have public comment. If anybody has any additional public comment they want to share with the board at this time. Seeing none, then motion to adjourn. Thank you for coming.